Hello, good evening, and thanks for your time. This is news at 10 on TV3. We're also live on 3FM 92.7. The bulletin is live from the news hub here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. You can get interactive with us on our social media pages, News on TV3 on Facebook and News on TV3 on Twitter. Let's start with the day's major news highlights. TV3's investigation has revealed the clearing of canned fish which have gone bad from the Tema port. At least 4 20-footer containers full of the products with the brand name Asahi were cleared from the Tema port on Saturday, September 30. Some aggrieved commercial drivers besieged the premises of media houses in Accra to press home demands for a reduction in the prices of petroleum products. They lamented fuel prices have over the last 4 months gone up by as much as 30%, while transport fares remain the same, a situation they contend is affecting their business. The Chief Justice Sophia Kufu has bemoaned the state of court buildings across the country, describing them as unsafe and unsuitable. She also said the budgetary allocation to the judicial service by government is woefully inadequate, adding the meager amount is not even released on time. And it has now emerged that hundreds of former workers of the now defunct UT Bank and Capital Bank have started receiving letters notifying them of termination of their appointments. TV3 business sources at GCB Bank Limited, the new owner of the two banks, say out of over 1,300 combined staff of the defunct banks, about 600 workers would be retained. And on the international front, thousands of opposition supporters in Togo marched through the capital, Lomé, in what they call the next phase of their campaign to force out President Faure Gnassingbé. Remember, we're live on our Facebook, streaming live on our Facebook page, and you can hear us on 3FM 92.7. Up next is the big one. Welcome. Now, the head of the Small Loans and Microfinance Center, Maslock, has said the center is seeking legal advice from the Attorney General on the next line of action to take after more than 300 vehicles procured by the John Mahama administration for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, were abandoned. Stephen Amwa says although he has not seen any written contract between the previous administration and GPRTU, reports suggest there was some agreement between both parties for the vehicles to be procured. He spoke on TV3's News 360.
What exactly is the condition of these cars we're talking about now?
Good evening, and thank you for having me on your show. Actually, I'm not a mechanical engineer. As a layman, the last time I went to inspect the cars was about a couple of weeks ago, and the cars were in very good condition. I don't really know who is giving this false information to the public domain, because even before you can have access to the place, I think you need to go to processes. Even myself, when I wanted to go, we had to send a letter, I think, to the BNI or the National Security, because it's actually, they are parked on their premises.
Okay.
So, seriously,
Mr. Moore, I mean, you would agree that physically looking at the cars and describing them as being in good condition is different from the mechanical efficiency of the car having been left over the period.
But that is why I told you I'm not a mechanical engineer. So I wonder who is giving this falsehood, because I don't also think anybody has done any mechanical work on that. But having said that, I think discussing this issue is also a very good thing to do, because, of course, we've experienced that before in our country, the gallopers. So I think it's good we discuss it. But then people shouldn't give falsehood about it, that the cars are there left rot. That is not true.
Well, in the end, I'm sure that the center which you head is minded in ensuring that these cars are put to good use and put culpability where culpability lies, if there is culpability in this matter. Now, what is Maslock doing to ensure that the purpose for which these cars were procured is being fulfilled?
In the first place, we have not in any case or anywhere stated that we're not going to give the cars to GPRTU. Since I took over the position, I've held, I think, more than 2 different meetings with the executive body of the GPRTU. And the major issue that is actually giving rise to much controversy is the price of these cars. For instance, we have 100 minibuses. Each of them, according to the records that I have, will cost government of Ghana or Maslock about $111,000. That will mean about 450,000 Ghana cedis, new Ghana cedis. Insurance and other cost components are not added. And of course, within the industry in Ghana here, the players of these buses or the drivers or the users, their daily turnover or sales will not even enable them to work with these buses in a number of years that is expected, make some money and pay, and even have some for their family to also depend on. So we're trying to engage the sellers of these cars or the suppliers to bring down the prices. For the buses, they decided not to.
Right, so let's get a reaction from the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU. Robert Saba is the National Vice Chairman. He's joining us on the telephone lines now. Good evening, Mr. Saba, and we're grateful for your time. So tell me, I want to understand, did the GPRTU have any consultations at all with the previous government before the over 300 or so vehicles were procured for the union?
Oh, yes, we had consultation with the previous government. We went to the Flagstaff House where we met with the former president, His Excellency John Mahama, and we appealed to him that we needed a vehicle just to add on to the various vehicles that we have. And you know, some of our vehicles, you know, are so rickety that, you know, we needed to, you know, change them. And some of us went to Egypt. We went there, and we chose those vehicles. They were brought into the country about a year now. But unfortunately, there was change of government, and the CEO decided that he would also investigate, you know.
Right. So let's understand before we go into the areas of what the new administration wanted to do. Let's clarify. So this was a request that was put in by GPRTU for these vehicles, and then GPRTU went ahead, perhaps with a government delegation, to where the procurement was done, and you chose these particular vehicles, correct?
Correct, correct.
So is it a case that the GPRTU indeed rejected the vehicles that were procured after all the consultations you're telling me about because they were too expensive?
Oh, we did not reject those vehicles. Our attention was drawn to the fact that the vehicles were exorbitant, and therefore, we cannot make good, of the loan facility. That is how, the vehicle has been.
So when you went to do the inspection and subsequently choosing the type of vehicle, you didn't apprise yourself with the price before the procurement was done?
Oh, we were still negotiating when, the new government came into power. We were still negotiating. The negotiation has not been exhausted when this new government came.
I see. So what would have been more like affordable for your members? I'm not sure you can tell me exactly how much each car was supposed to cost. If you can, that would be great. You can tell me how much. But considering how much it cost and the fact that you said it was expensive, how much were your members able to afford so that you would have preferred it was sold at that rate to you?
When we were trying to negotiate with, the new CEO, within the discussion, we learned the case has gone to IOCO, and therefore we, terminated the discussion, at that point, waiting for, the outcome of IOCO. So we've not sat, as a union to think about,
Right. So quickly, before you go, so would you still be interested in these vehicles, and would you have, for example, the confidence to go back to government and request for vehicles like you did before, and then these vehicles are now, somewhere?
Oh, some of the members are still interested.
Okay.
See, we needed vehicles to work with, and when these vehicles are in, definitely, somebody may be using those vehicles. And when the government is able to subsidize, the prices of these vehicles for us, we will appreciate that.
Right. Mr. Saba, we're grateful for your time. Robert Saba is the National Vice Chairman of the Ghana Private Road Transport Unions, GPRTU. I will take a break here. We'll be right back. Let's continue. Authorities at the Mole National Park have blamed the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts and her entourage for not informing them before visiting the park. Earlier, TV3 reported how a timely intervention by a tour guide at the Mole National Park prevented what could have been a fatal attack on the entourage of the minister. The entourage, which comprises of the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Catherine Apeku, and her deputy Ziblim Idi, Dr. Ziblim Idi, some tourism ambassadors and other staff of the Ghana Tourism Authority, was last week in the West Gonja district of the Northern region to acquaint themselves with some tourist attraction sites. The entourage proceeded to the Mole National Park after a visit to the Larabanga Mosque and the Mystic Stone. Barely 7 minutes drive into the park, the movement of the ministerial convoy was impeded by an elephant which held the team at hostage for more than 30 minutes. But for the timely intervention of a tour guide at the scene, that brought the situation under control. The entourage made their way through eventually. Authorities of the Mole National Park have, however, said the ministerial entourage did not inform them of their visit to the park, and so no preparations were made in advance for them. Authorities, however, say they're sorry about the incident. Right, let's get onto the telephone lines again and speak with Umaru Farouk, who is the Mole National Park manager. Good evening, sir. Thank you. We're grateful for your time. So, how come the minister and his entourage were chased around by an elephant helplessly at the park for close to 30 minutes before your men showed up?
Good evening, and then good evening to your viewers, and thank you for having me on your platform. To comment on this unfortunate incident that happened during the minister and her entourage visit to the park. First and foremost, I wish to commend TV3 for strongly airing this particular news item, because I consider it as a very important educative material for most Ghanaians in particular who are ignorant about nature and they need to respect natural systems. Talking about natural systems, the Mole National Park is among the few wildlife protected areas in Ghana, set aside to conserve animals in their natural environment, and then any activity or act that appear to disrupt or interfere with the serenity of this environment would definitely be considered as an intrusion or a breach of the serenity of the animal's natural environment, and the animal is compelled to react the way we saw in this particular incident. Unfortunately, like you indicated, the park authorities only got to know that the minister and her entourage were in the park at the time they were taken hostage by the elephant, and that was the only time I got to know that the minister was in the park.
Interesting. So our understanding, Mr. Farouk, is that there should have been prior notification of the ministerial visit. So I want to find out what form of prior notification are you talking about or is required? Is it a letter, an email, a phone call? What exactly would have constituted a formal prior notice before the minister and entourage visited?
Of course, organizers of ministers of state and high-profile individuals visiting the park require certain level of security, and so we expect that these organizers would, as usual, not just inform the park authorities about this visit, but endeavor to meet and sit with the park authorities to fashion out, modalities that will not largely breach the protocol of the minister and her entourage, but at the same time also ensure that the security arrangement in the park to ensure that the animals remain in their natural habitat is not largely breached.
So what form of protection usually are given to people who visit the Mole National Park? Would it have been any different from the regular protection you would have offered the minister?
Yes, of course. Of course, this is not a normal, an individual driving just a car into the park. This was made up of a long convoy with a motorcade. And like your reporter indicated, I think the animal was agitated by the noise emanating from the siren. And this definitely, like I indicated, interfered with the natural environment of the animal.
Right.
And so it's considered, it's threatened. The animal was considered threatened. That is abnormal about its habitat. So definitely it was compelled to react the way it did. And that is why we always require that for such trips, a pre-arrangement is made so that at least the team is met at the gate and given an escort to where their final destination within the park.
Right.
That could have avoided this embarrassing situation.
Ms. Omaru Farouk, we're grateful for time. Omaru Farouk is the Mole National Park manager. I'm Stephen Ante. This is still News at 10. We're also live on 3FM 92.7. We have more news for you. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, President Akufo-Addo has pledged his government's commitment at creating good conditions in the health sector to motivate health professionals to accept postings to deprived communities across the country. The president was addressing religious leaders in the Upper West region as part of his two-day visit there.
The meeting with the religious leaders was to solicit their support and understand challenges confronting the people in the region. Bishop of the Wa Catholic Diocese, Most Reverend Richard Kuye Bawobre, expressed worry about the alarming armed robbery rate in the region and has called on the president to intervene. He again appealed for the early completion of the new regional hospital.
We are grateful for the new regional hospital that is not yet completed. We trust that this government will see it through so that the health care that was promised us would effectively be delivered and thus reduce expenses in traveling to other hospitals outside of the region. We urgently need doctors and other health workers in the current health facilities so that they can serve our people better.
President Akufo-Addo pledged to improve the health sector to motivate health personnel to accept postings to deprived communities.
We're trying to create conditions in the health service that would motivate our young people to rediscover their mission as health workers, doctors who have reluctance to go out to so-called remote areas. Efforts are being made and they're beginning to pay. So I'm very confident that very, very soon you will see the fruition of those efforts and you will see a greater influx of medical personnel into your region.
Now, in the year 2000, then MP for Iboakwa, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, expressed his dissatisfaction with the NDC for accusing the MPP of not having men with integrity to handle the economy. He debated the then Minister of Communications, John Mahama, on TV3's Hot Issues.
This language which has that some people are the only people of integrity in this country, only one party has men of integrity, and everybody else, somebody you don't know, you met 4 years ago, is the only person who is a man of integrity in our country. Everybody else is a crook or a thief. That language has been extremely damaging to our country.
Yourself the kinds of assurances to the people that you can achieve. Certainly, they are not in the driving seat. They don't know what the actual state of the economy is. And so to just sit down and say that, and I know what they're going to do. I know what they're going to do. Let's take it hypothetically. Wait. Let's take it hypothetically. Just a minute. No,
please. They're not accurate.
Let's take it.
I know what they're going to do. Budget statements. I know official publications
what they're going to do.
Setting out the economic facts of the
David,
situation. Let's take a short commercial break.
Let's take a short commercial break and then we'll come back to it.
Very hot there. Watch the full playback on Hot Issues this Saturday, October 7 at 1 p.m. Right, let's do some other stories now. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo says his government will deal with everyone who tries to smuggle to neighboring countries the subsidized fertilizers meant to boost food production here. President Addo has cautioned the Planting for Food and Job program, which will ensure the production of enough food to feed Ghanaians, might suffer if smugglers are not apprehended in time. The president said some saboteurs have been at work to undermine the Planting for Food and Job program since it would launch in August this year. He noted it has become a worrying trend that any time something good is happening in the country, there are always a few greedy people who try to sabotage it for their own personal interest. Right, that's how we wrap up with News at 10. Thank you very much for making time. On behalf of the crew here, good night. There is more news at 3news.com.